It's not until you step out of the wilderness you realise how big this planet really is and how very little we know about what's going on when we're not around. Back in the Dark Ages, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the forest was quite often the centre of the universe to peasants living hand to mouth from the land. But the forest offered something else: fear and superstition. By the Middle Ages, the vast swathes of ancient forests had developed comparative local legends of forest-bound witches, fairy folk and wild men, otherwise known as Woodwose, very tall and muscular hair-covered humanoids, known throughout the land as the protectors of the forest, an idea that later evolved into the cult of the Green Man. But what were the Woodwose, and is it possible they could still exist throughout Britain today?
So we've had civilization here for a very long time, and what you've got to remember, things like fairies and goblins and our version of a Bigfoot, the myths, the legends, the fables, but they've got to come from somewhere. You know, we go back a few hundred years, 1,000 years even, and you can have an imagination, but it's got to be born from something. So I think people have experienced seeing the fairies, you know, the gremlins, the goblins. They make for good bedtime stories, but I think there's also truth in it. So while we've been locked down for the past 12 or so months, a lot of nature's been starting to come back into the towns, and where we're not trampling in nature, you know, these creatures have probably had more time to come out because they're not seeing the humans so much, and we are a barbaric race, so they're not very trustworthy. You know, we're not one with nature like we used to be, so they're probably coming out, and more things are being seen because of that.
What I do think about your Bigfoots and your mythical creatures allegedly that roam our coastline and our lands is that they are more attuned to the surroundings than we are. So that we've just got eyes and ears. They've got feelings. They are attuned to everything around them. So let's say it's your Bigfoot. I've heard that you know he's there, but he knows you're there as well, and they're very attuned to what we are. The human race, they're attuned. They communicate telepathically. So if they're communicating telepathically, they're attuned to us walking up a mountain. They know we're going to be there. They know we're there. I don't think for 1 minute that they just willy-nilly hide and venture out. I feel that they've got a feeling and they're attuned to what's around them.
In history times, there was the Woodwose, the Green Man, Jackard the Green. He's got many names. A caretaker that lives within the woods that looks like a human and an ape combined. A Woodwose is described as completely hair covered. So, for instance, we've got the Woodwose reports in Yallen, which is Yellowham in Puddleton in Dorset. But our latest report came from there in 2017. So hundreds of years apart. You've got a maiden saying that she's been impregnated by one, and you've got a chap who's out poaching who sees one. They both describe them in the same way. Hair covered, look like a man and an ape combined. You can do that all the way across the UK. So you've got the latest reports coming in at the moment is in Holcombe, which is down in Norfolk. And there is a report there from the 1600s of a Woodwose. They go back in our history. They are in our churches. They carved out of stone. Some people call them the foliage face. So you have this face that's peeping out of the green.
I think it's definitely possible for there to be animal types and creatures that are living in the UK and we have no idea about. I know gorillas weren't really discovered till, I think, the early 20th century, or they were kind of, you know, in African legends or whatever, but no one had ever documented or captured a live one. So it could be the same with Woodwose or things like that, which I suppose they're kind of like a Yeti, a Bigfoot, like a UK version. And obviously they're famous or notorious for being able to just disappear sharpish. So if there is the same kind of thing here, then it would definitely make sense for them to be able to be living here, yeah.
There's that much of the world that's not been tread on. You look at the forest of Brazil, for one, forest of Puerto Rico. There's areas there where I've never ever seen man. You know, you're talking thousands of square miles. There's got to be something in there, aren't there? People that catch Bigfoot footage, is it all fake? I beg to differ. I don't think it's all fake. Some of them are fake, definitely, because people, you know, they're just being stupid, really.
They don't want us to see them. They don't want to be part of us. They want to be hidden. You know, who'd want to be associating with us? The minute they come out, every Tom, Dick and Harry would want to see them. Everyone would be hounding them. Everyone would be looking for them and causing them problems. They know that. They're not stupid. Like, see, Nessie. What is that? What is Nessie? It's never been seen since, really, has it? You know, what was it? Was it a hoax? Was it a mythical creature from deep within the earth? Maybe.
So I speak to a lady who, in 72, so 10 years before me, in Yorkshire, in Bawtry. She's wagging it, didn't go in school with a mate, and they're on the old sewage sign. And she said she notices a movement in the grass, and it's a man laid down flat, but he's using the grass to hide himself. She wasn't frightened, but a friend was. And she said, I actually went to walk up to it, and it shook its head no. She said, and my friend ran, and I realised I'm stuck between that and out, and I just ran after her. She said, and I'm so annoyed, because now I really wanted to go back. So I said to her, when you say a man, do you mean a human? She went, oh no, not a human male. He was using the grass and the shadow to disguise himself, Deb, like you would in an Amazon tribe. So you got a lady in the northeast of England. She's 6, playing with her mates, making a rope swing. We've all done that. She looks up in a tree, and she said he looked like a Neanderthal man, completely hair covered, definitely wild, and he had a stone tool in his hand. And she was terrified. She ran home.
You wouldn't think that a country the size of ours is largely unpopulated, especially when one of the issues at the moment is there's too many of us. But yes, there's a lot of areas that we don't know. There's a lot of undiscovered areas, places, caves, underground caverns, where anything could exist. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we don't know everything. You look at the ocean's only 10% explored, so they think, and there's probably more that they don't realise. So yes, we've got a very small island, but there is so much that is undiscovered out there, and the likes of the big cats that are spotted. You know, people are saying that the leopards or, you know, jaguars or whatever else, yeah, they may be, but where have they come from? You know, and does this step into something like interdimensional? Are they actually from here in the first place, you know, or are they coming through some kind of portal?
Big, like with the big cat sightings, they're not so much cryptids. To me, that's people that had exotic pets back in the 60s and 70s. Licensing laws changed, or the animals were getting too big, so it's just open the door, off you go. Just don't say anything, release them into the wild. It's easier than getting them rehomed or shit, especially if you're not supposed to own these pets in the first place. If you've not got the right documentation, what you're going to do, you're not getting arrested or fined for it, so just release. I think that's what the big cats are, and they've just carried on. Cryptids, as in Bigfoot, Mothman, reptilians, like Lizard Man, all that kind of stuff, I do believe they're real. I do think that they're connected to inner Earth, not so much hollow Earth. It's more humans live on the outside of the Earth. They live underground in the tunnels and caverns and everything else that there is underneath there.
Who knows? You know, there's a theory that even the Bigfoot are aliens. That they, you know, there's been a lot of UFO sightings around the same time that Bigfoots are seen. So are they actually the aliens, and people are seeing them? We're calling them Bigfoots, Yetis, Sasquatch or whatever. But there's certainly a lot more that we haven't found and we haven't explored. And to be honest, I don't think we should, because I think where we are now, we've kind of spread ourselves enough, and we need to stay in our communities, because the worst thing that you could do if we do find other species is go and trample it and destroy it, because that's what we do with things.
There are a lot of reports coming in now. There's a lot more reports than there used to be. I mean, it's like nearly one a week. People are saying that they've seen these, what can only be described as werewolf. You say, I don't believe in werewolves. That's a horror film. But that's the only reference to them we've got, because there's nothing that should exist like that. So of course, if you're going to see something 8 foot tall with a dog's face, you're going to call it a werewolf, aren't you? Because you've got no other. But I don't think they are. I think they're engineered somewhere.
So I definitely believe in the cryptoids. They are definitely out there.
I truly believe these animals, these creatures, whatever they may be, know who's a danger and who isn't to them.
I think where nature's concerned, there's balance, and I think it does need a guardian. Just like you've got mermaids that are in the sea, we have a nature spirit that looks after the forests. I think the Green Man has evolved, but I think originally he's possibly a human that was just one with nature, dressed like a tree or whatever else, covered himself in camouflage. But it's important to remember nature was here first, if you like. We are guests on this planet, and we need to respect nature. And if there's a Green Man of the forests, I think it's important that we respect, and we don't really. We look at wood for paper, for toilet roll, for burning, and we are destroying our environment. So the Green Man really needs to kind of step in at some point and protect the forest, protect the earth.
I do believe there's an overseeing spirit or man or whatever that is over nature. I do feel when you're in nature that it's being looked after. We call it Mother Nature, don't we? We feel that Mother Nature's looking after itself. It always evolves, no matter where there's been a fire or anything. It grows again, it comes back, it lives, it survives. There's a balance in there, definitely. We're taking that balance away with man, because we're cutting down forests, we're just devastating landscapes. There will be a turn in that, and something's got to happen. And whether it be our Green Man or Mother Nature, along them lines, something's got to give, and it can't be us just keep destroying forests and rainforests and things like that. Something's got to give.
A young lady that worked at the military base at Moncton next to Prestwick Airport, she'd gone through the security gate to get to work. She worked in an office block, and she'd heard a noise, a big thud at the side of her, and as she looked across, there was like a garage, a wooden shed type garage, and she said she thought somebody had fallen down because there was something on the floor. And then as she looked, it looked like a Newfoundland, one of them big dogs, and she kind of looked round, and when she looked back again, it had stood up, and it was like 7 to 8 foot tall, this thing, and it looked like something out of the American Werewolf in London. And she kind of looked round in a panic, and by the time she looked back again, it was stood in front of her snarling. And she was, I think she said 5'3", and this thing was 7 to 8 foot tall. And then she started to panic. She said she didn't know how she didn't collapse on the floor, but anyway, she started to panic. And then she heard the little mail truck coming round, and this thing heard the little mail truck coming round, because she said its head swiveled round, and it snarled and growled, and then in a couple of leaps, it had gone off round this container. So she couldn't go back to work for God knows how long. It really traumatised her.
When I very first started, I used to just take reports of anything that was kind of Neanderthal, like caveman, like ape-like. So So I started then on the CB radio. I'd get on the CB radio and I'd say, has anybody out there seen anything strange on the roads? And yes, I used to get some strange replies, but every now and again, one trucker would get in touch with me and say, actually, Debbie, yeah, I've seen something like that. And my thinking of it was that they're out there at night in dark places where if these creatures are real and they live on the land, the last survey we had was 2018, less than 90% of the UK is urban. So we've got all of that land. One of the things I've got to do as a witness is apparently, if you're a witness, you have to answer all of the frequently asked questions. Where do they live? Do they give birth? Where do they go in winter time? So I concentrated on that for a very long time. And I knew that in the UK people were not taking those reports seriously. I had so many doors shut in my face. And then people would contact me and say, I know you don't take this kind of report, but when I saw it didn't look like an ape. It looked like a dog. It had ears on top of its head. It had paws, not hands. It had a tail, but it was upright on two legs. And at first, even I didn't take them seriously. And then I realised I was being a hypocrite, that if I want people to accept what's happened to me, then I have to understand that different things happen to different people. And I've spoken to those witnesses, and I've done that for a very long time. And dogman, werewolf, bipedal wolf, whatever name you want to put on it, those sighting reports are coming in at least 5 times quicker than the Bigfoot reports. I'll probably get 1 or 2 Bigfoot reports in a year. I've taken 8 this year alone of dogman reports, usually on a cemetery or a burial ground, or an old Ministry of Defence land. So places like Benton, RAF Benton Cliffs, you get a lot of report of these dog-like creatures, ears on top of the head, as I said. But there are a number of reports where I realised that the description changes. So I thought we've got more than one thing going on here. We've got your typical Hammer House of Horror werewolf, what howls at the moon kind of thing. But then we've got what people are describing as a human body. So no tail, male genitalia, hands and feet, but a dog-like head. So a snouted thing, with ears on side of the head, almost like a human. So you're thinking, well, that's 2 descriptions. Then you hear about what some of them call a hybrid, so really big, some call them minotaurs. So they say like, Debbie, I couldn't tell if it was the head of a horse, it was the head of a bull, it was just animalistic with nostrils that were snarling and things like that. That's far more terrifying, I think. Something with canine teeth, with yellow or red eyes that's coming for you. Absolutely terrifying. And I'm thinking, why is nobody collecting these reports? They're just going to go into oblivion. This person's going to pass on, and that story, like the Bigfoot reports, or whether it's the Fae, we're just going to lose them. And I didn't want that to happen. I felt they were vital. So I realised early on that I needed to do a lot of research into werewolves, and I thought the easiest way to do it is talk to the witnesses. You can have all the tech in the world, but you sit down with a human being and you look into their eyes and you know that they're not lying to you. They're a police officer or a lawyer or an army sergeant. You'd listen to them in a court of law. So just because they saw something that you have no conception of or understanding doesn't make them a lunatic. It just means that they saw something that you don't understand. And I think one of the most vital parts that we can do doing something like this is getting that discussion going.
Well, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to join in the debate, feel free to leave a comment below.